inside now. Now,
Henry,
get inside, folks. This is moving by the Channel 5 area as we speak. As we speak, this is moving by News Channel 5. Dan, are you getting this right now? Good. All right, folks, you need to head to your safe place. This tornado is on the ground.
The damage here in 5 Points is astonishing.
While most people were asleep in their beds, neighbors in North Nashville were lifted from theirs.
Since the tornado, these streets have been full with first responders, construction workers, and volunteers. But ever since COVID-19, it's fallen into silence.
WHO has been assessing this outbreak around the clock, and we're deeply concerned both by the alarming levels of spread and severity and by the alarming levels of inaction. We have therefore made the assessment that COVID-19 can be characterized as a pandemic.
I think if anybody says the word pandemic in the next 10 years, we're all gonna have like some serious PTSD and freak out pretty hard. I think it'll be fine, but I do think self-care and mental health check-ins are gonna be pretty crucial. Really, actually very crucial.
Everything they did always fell below the bare minimum. It took weeks from the sending gloves. The masks came even later. What we ended up getting so low quality, half the time they'd fall apart before you even put them on. We had social distancing signs and markers set up for a while, but none of the customers paid attention to them. Eventually they got worn out or torn up. They were never replaced. When we finally got the gloves and masks, no one wore them. Corporate didn't require it. We had lists of stuff to do, things to clean, precautions to take. For a few days, everyone followed them, but after a while, it was phased out, the list disappeared, no one cared. A few people tried to do what they could to clean, but were understaffed as it is. Getting it all done was just unthinkable.
All across the country, students are facing unprecedented challenges. 50% of students said the strength of their relationships with teachers has decreased.
How has your daily school routine changed since quarantine?
At home, it was kind of different. I'm not gonna lie, it was nice having Fridays and to catch up on work and do things. And I'm very excited to be back at school because I like to see the kids and all that, but it's nowhere near normal, and I wish it was. That's all I can say.
For me, I know, like, since I'm still online, it's harder for me and my teachers to like schedule a time for where we can work on things that I'm not understanding.
Oh, absolutely. It's all I can say is that we're doing the best we can, and that's about all we can do. I thought it was going to be a lot different when we came back, but it's really not, because in order to be able to treat both groups fairly, you just have to go with them.
In hindsight, we should have split. We should have had teachers who taught only virtually, or like taught virtually first, second, third, and then in person. Like, we should have actually split. So then on virtual classes, you would still have office hours. You would still, like, we should have split rather than trying to do both. But at the time, that just seemed like such a disruption to everybody, but that's probably how we should have done it.
They say their COVID-19 risk score based on city cases is too high to go back. But some parents say this is ridiculous. They tell News 2 Stasio Olmos the numbers MNPS should be focusing on now are their children's grades.
We don't really have any say-so in the curriculum. The curriculum is kind of given to us. We used to have a lot more freedom, but we don't now. And I really think the majority of the public's opinion is this is a very easy job, and we should be thankful for any money that we get. So I think that's really, and I think it's based on the idea that we're glorified babysitters. And I hate to say that, but I think that's what most people think.
It's Adrienne Battle, and I want to share with you a first look at some of our plans for the next few months. First, I want to take a moment and acknowledge the tragic events that have happened in Nashville and throughout our nation. It started with the senseless murder of George Floyd, an African-American male, by a police officer who ignored the desperate cries of a dying man while his fellow officers looked on.
Just minutes before, Louisville officers executed a no-knock search warrant at Taylor's home as part of a drug investigation. But attorneys for Taylor's family say no drugs were ever found.
Hands up, don't shoot! Hands up!
Racism has basically been occurring since the dawn of time. And though we have come a long way as a society, it's sad to see how we have also come so little as a people. Following the death of George Floyd, I watched the news for the first time and witnessed a group of protesters burning the Capitol. It was then that I learned that the police were involved in the murder of an African-American male. It is sad that we, African-Americans, have to commit such violent acts to be heard. And let me just say, they have definitely gotten the world's attention, so much so that it is all I hear about. A few weeks ago, I attended an essay boot camp in which my mentor said something that struck me in the wrong way. I know he meant no malice, but he basically said that he was glad that the colored students were here partaking in the program and not out there in the raids. Even though I know he meant well, I felt singled out and alienated.
Good evening. Hundreds of local seniors were the first to be vaccinated today as Davidson County enters the next phase of its COVID-19 vaccine distribution plan.
Yeah, I remember you saying that you had to drive an hour and a half. What was it to get your COVID shot? Congratulations.
Oh, yeah. I knew I was, when Metro Nashville, when the COVID tracker numbers started going down, I figured they would probably tell us relatively quickly, we had to go back to school. And so instead of waiting, I wanted to get both of my vaccines before we came back. So I drove to White County. Yeah, it was about an hour and 45 minutes. And it's Sparta, Tennessee. So I drove there both times to get my shot.
I mean, it was frustrating because I think I was nervous about going back to school. And my husband and I, for our first shot, drove to McMinnville and got vaccinated there. And then by the time our second shot came around, we were able to just go to the Walmart here by the house. That wasn't nearly as frustrating as, once MNPS said, oh, we're going to help teachers get the vaccine. They said, for those teachers who have gone out on their own to get it, we can't help you. We can't help you get your second shot. We can't give you a day off to get the shot. I think they backtracked on that a little bit, but that felt really frustrating for, it felt like those of us that had been aggressive trying to get the shot were punished a little bit there in the beginning.
All your classes are seniors, right?
Yes.
So yeah, how have they, what have they been talking about? Are they sad about losing kind of their senior year?
Yeah, they are sad about it. But at the same time, I think that being back at school, that's why I think you'll be fine when you go to college. I think being back to school has really calmed them down, because there has been a sense of normalcy. And when they first got back, I think there was a lot of, we don't have any senior privileges. We've lost our whole senior year. And now they're laughing more, and we worked really hard so they could eat outside every day and have a space just for seniors. And now we're going to have a prom. All high schools are having a prom. I think they feel I think they're calmer. Mm-hmm. And I think it just took kind of just, getting back into it.
In just 2 hours, they all come to an end. But Rory, it's not just capacity limits that are expiring.
That's right. It's not this time tomorrow. Masks will no longer be required.
We're all going to be okay. I think there's lots of reason for hope, and I think we're all going to be much more resilient. I think we're going to be really grateful for some things that we weren't grateful for before. I'm so grateful for the time I've gotten to spend with my kids. I honestly am grateful for some of the things that have happened as a result of the pandemic. Personally grateful.
I'm going to say that I think you guys are at some point in time in the future going to laugh about this. But right now, I think it's probably terrifying and also just extremely disappointing. And just know that at some point in time, you'll look back on this and have some great stories to tell people at cocktail parties. And that you've been through something very similar to a lot of people historically, and you'll never forget it, and it will make you stronger.